Hello and welcome back to all of my friends, my fans, and my fellow FTFLers to the longest running weekly episodic fantasy football update show. That's right, boys and girls. It is time once again for the FTFL weekly update. It is I, not only the host of this amazing award-winning show, not only the owner of the Hulkamaniacs, but by what's hanging over my shoulder. And before you go off and tell your friends about that pretty belt that Mr. Brett was toting around, let me stop you right there. I've told you once, I've told you a million times, belts are for holding up pants, boys and girls. This is a championship title and it represents greatness. That's right. I am also your league champion as I, Brett. Welcome back. FTFL Weekly Update, episode 105. Now, last week, I hope I said season 7. That's right, 7 seasons. We've been coming together once a week every fall to celebrate all that is the FTFL. And if you have been paying attention in past years, week 1 is all about overreactions. Everybody is blowing up. Everyone's got grand plans. Everyone thinks they have it all figured out. You're going to head out into the world, grab it by a tail, wrap it around your fingers, and stuff it in your pocket. Well, I'm here to tell you, boys and girls, that when you go out into the world with all of your grandiose plans and I think I know it all attitudes about week 1 in fantasy football, sorry to break it to you, but you don't know jack squat. Huh. My goodness gracious. More on overreactions later. Kramerica, last checked, still dead. He might be a new. I asked about him having a new team name last week. This week he gets beat. New team name is coming. I promise. I've got a good idea. We'll get to that. The Link, speaking of new team name, I almost said Linkwitz. Now, you know, his team is no longer Linkwitz. Nay. It's Dickweed. And wow, did Dickweed come out firing this week? And he wasn't alone. Adam Saltmarsh, too. Two teams who were feeding on the sludge that was the bottom. The cellar of the FTFL came out swinging in week 1. Is that something they can keep going? Now, if you're Adam Saltmarsh, last year in particular was sad and bad because of your running backs. Now, Miles Sanders, not a favorite of mine at all, don't really care. However, Miles Sanders did score a touchdown. Like, well, Brett, why do you even spend time telling us that? Who cares? He didn't score one last year. Miles Sanders finally found the end zone. Round of applause. I know we ate cake last week here when Salty's running back scored a touchdown. Part of me feels like I should have had cake this week to celebrate Miles Sanders. Maybe after, delayed, belated. That's the word I'm looking for. Belated cake next week. Also great. But before I get into the games, let me just tell you who deserves no cake. And that is Broncos coach Hackett. Holy hell, was that the worst end of a football game I've seen in maybe forever. How is playing for a 64-yard field goal the plan? How is that what we set out to do? We knew the line was 46 yards. We got there, we felt pretty comfortable. Said no one ever. I don't care if Brandon McManus has a freaking a droid leg attached to his hip that exudes power far beyond any sort of human capability. A 64-yard field goal is not where you want to find yourself when you had other options. Now, I don't just say that because I own said one of those other options. No. Just for all people who understand football and the generalities that lie there within, Mr. Hackett, you don't. My good God, you don't. And of course, it did go beyond the gridiron. It's trickled into our league as well. So that is what will take us into our first game. These nuts, the unofficial, undefeated WNBA champion record holder. God, you know what? It's these nuts. Taking on the Hulkamaniacs. Not a great week for either team. Less of a great week for me. 77.5 for Adam, 69 for me. Joe Burrow, 22 points. Now, we do not hand out points for negative interceptions. I know, Jeff Markser, I apologize. That's something you have really championed year in and year out. It just isn't happening. Michael Thomas, welcome back. Michael Thomas, 16.5 points. Leonard Fournette, 9. Cam Akers, 0 points. That's right. He goes out on Thursday Night Football, has 3 carries, 0 points, and I can't even climb that hill. Thanks, Hackett. Thanks a lot. Adam Swart now with this win does take the slight lead in our all-time series, 17-16-2. For me, Russ Wilson. I know a lot of you are like, why would you draft him, Brett? Why would Brett draft Russ? He hates Russell Wilson. Well, let me just fill you in on a little bit of history, since I know some of you aren't real great at paying attention. Half of you have basic reading skills, and memory for any of you is something that just isn't working very well as you enter your later stages of life. 11 years ago, Russ Wilson was drafted in the 3rd round by the Seattle Seahawks, hopefully to be the backup for Matt Flynn after he had the greatest game in fantasy football history in Week 17 against the Lions in the previous season. Now, Russell Wilson played his senior year at University of Madison, Wisconsin, because he graduated early from North Carolina State. He came to Madison, brought him all the way to the Rose Bowl, and then tried to spike the ball without any timeout. Whatever. FTFL draft. Who drafts Russell Wilson in that draft? Well, I'll tell you who. This guy. And then, who stashed him away on his bench all year so that he could be a rookie keeper the following season? Same answer. This guy. I've been a fan since day one. Since day one. And I dare you to find any ill words I have ever spoken of Russ Wilson. Are you kidding me? Give that man a spoon and a cupboard full of ingredients and let that boy cook. Now, he only had 16 points, 340 yards passing. The big problem was, of course, we didn't get it into the end zone. A.J. Dillon, who I was telling anyone who had a pulse before their fantasy draft, that was the guy you wanted to get, 14.5. Gabe Davis, another guy who I was high on, had 12. Gesicki, half point. Zach Ertz, 9 points. Let me tell you how pissed I am about that. All week, Zach Ertz ain't going to play. All week, doubtful. Zach Ertz sees the field on Sunday. All damn week. So I don't play Zach. I didn't want to play Gesicki because the Dolphins seemingly have fallen out of love with that guy, but I had to go with Zach Ertz. What does Zach Ertz do? Oh, he plays. And not only does he play, he scores a touchdown. He gets 9 points. I lost by 8.5 points. The difference between Zach Ertz and Gesicki this week, you guessed it, 8.5 damn points. You know what I'm going to do right now? I am going to make a list. I'm going to give this a running list all year long. We're going to title this the Champs List. Here it is right here, the Champs List. And individuals do not want to find yourself on the Champs List. First individual, Coach Hackett. What a bum. Are you kidding me? It was his first NFL game, and it damn well probably should be his last. Also on the list, the Cardinals medical staff, or whoever it is that makes designations on whether people are playing or not, because they're a bunch of goddamn liars. And you know what? Maybe there'll be other people I add to this list, but for right now, these two you just made the list. All right, so I lost. Swart wins, and we move on. Next up, Mana, 4-time Lucky Pants belt-stealing champ. Mana taking on the Architect, and boy, oh boy, Jeff brought the Thunder, 109.5 to Matt, 70.5. Lamar Jackson in a massive contract year, 26 points for him. Jonathan Taylor had 18. Ryan Suckup just kept kicking field goals. On Sunday night, he had 16. A.J. Brown appears to be the guy, not Devontae Smith in Philly. He had 15. Jeff's vaunted rookie keeper, 5 points. Woo! Travis Etienne. James Robinson might still be the guy after all. That's right. Bust out the hot tub, get out the list, James. You know what? Maybe we'll need to do us another list. Next week, the James Robinson versus Travis Etienne list. This was a wall of lists, but you probably won't be able to see it behind the glistening sparkle that is the championship title. If you're mad, Devontae Adams had a nice week, 19. David Carr, 16. Joe Mixon, 11.5. Matt had 5 guys under 5 points, including Zeke Elliott, 2.5. Over the last 2 years, he have averaged at least 10 points. He needs to have a big season if Matt plans on doing anything this year. He falls to 0-1. Next up, Dick Weed taking on mixing cocktails, and as I mentioned earlier, Dickweed came out firing, 126.5 to 72. Saquon Barkley, 23 points. In 2020, Saquon had 7 points total for the entire season. In 2021, Saquon had 89 points. We are already, if my Browerville math is correct, over a quarter of the way there in one game. And I said, if he stays healthy, he very well could win some leagues this year, and maybe, just maybe, he'll help John get second place in this league. Justin Herbert, 22. Jerry Jeudy on that big bomb that 1 should have been deflected. 2, he should have been tackled. Now, I'm not complaining because I got those points too, John, but really it was kind of a ridiculous play. He got 18. Bills defense, 18. DeAndre Swift, 17.5. Detroit, points all over the place. We'll see. For the first time, 27, 28 games, they're favored. Going into the game this weekend against the Washington Commanders, holy cow, Cole Kmet, 0 points. He was the only player on John's team under 7. If you're the mixing cocktails, it wasn't great. Michael Pittman, 18.5. Javonte Williams, 11.5. Brady and McCaffrey both got 10. CeeDee Lamb, 1 point. As we get into overreactions next, that could be a big one going forward. Andy falls to 0-1. Dickweed is now 1-0. Now, I let in with week 1 is overreaction week. And oh, you know what? We got another member for the list here. Not only in fantasy football, but in real football as well. Now, I was at the bank, the giant floating turd tank that is US Bank Stadium where the Vikings play all of their home games. I was there on Sunday for the Packers game. And by the end of the game, I'm pretty certain large groups of Vikings fans were planning to gather after the game to decide purple or white. Purple or white? Purple or white? Which color jersey is our team going to win when they go to the Super Bowl? Jesus H. Let's all just calm down. Now, the Packers lost in US Bank Stadium. They, by the way, are 2-5 in that stadium. It's not like they win in that stadium all the time. Kirk Cousins, now head-to-head against Aaron Rodgers, is 5-4. Again, him beating Aaron Rodgers isn't something that never happens yet. Every damn Vikings fan in the joint treated it as such. So you know what else makes the list? Delusional Vikings fans. Delusional Vikings fans, you just made the list. But anyways, fantasy football related. Now, we covered bust from last year. And it's tough to know if someone's going to be a bust or not. Now, there were a couple guys, however, though, after week 1 that were on the watch list for this year because they were busts from last year. George Kittle didn't even play. Injured already. 0 points. David Montgomery on the bust list. 3.5 points this week. I said CeeDee Lamb, he had 1 point. Is it going to get better without Dak? I doubt it. Mark Andrews for Sid had 4.5 points. Elijah Mitchell, 2 points. He's out for a couple months. He could be considered a bust. DJ Moore, 3.5 points. Could be considered a bust. Or we could just say, you know what? It was 1 week. And even if next week doesn't go your way, guess what? Maybe it's only 2 weeks. I present this for you. 2 teams. Team A. Team A. Week 1 last year, 97 points. Week 2, 130.5 points, 2-0. Team B, week 1, 70.5 points. Week 2, 69 points. All right, according to all the overreacting crazy-ass fools out there, Team A is probably the one that went on to win the whole damn thing, right? Right? Because why wouldn't they? Because week 1 determines all. It says everything that's needed. We trust and honor week 1. It was Team B, and you're looking at the owner, and you're looking at the title. So I don't want to hear about, being embarrassed about a week 1 loss. I don't want to hear about, are you nervous because you had a week? Does everyone want to win week 1? Sure we do. Does it happen for everyone? No. 5 teams get to win week 1. But it isn't the end of the world, and we shouldn't treat it as such. Last year, in the first 2 weeks of the season, I had the second lowest point total. Yet, here I sit, all fancied up, title on my shoulder, while the rest of you sit at home with your cheesy poofs and whatever sort of beverage you got and a notebook full of stats just trying to chase the champ down. Well, good luck with that. So you know what? I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit. I'll bring my own self down just a little, and we'll finish this thing up here. Valhalla Vandas 0-0, taking on the Monkeys at 0-0. Another team that came out the gates and got a win they desperately needed to start the season. Monkeys, Adam 96.5 to Peters 82.5. Stefan Diggs on Thursday night blew it up for 22 points. Clyde Edwards-Helaire in his best fantasy game ever. 17.5 points in just in the nick of time for Saltmarsh. Murray, 16. Mike Evans, 12.5. Brandon McManus, he of the 64-yard chip shot field goal. He had 11. All of that added up to more points than Peter. If you're Peter, Patrick Mahomes had himself a hell of a week in a losing effort, 36 points. Jamar Chase, 19. James Conner, 10.5. But he also, like Matt, had 5 players under 5 that often won't get it done. Damian Pierce, Mitchell combined. Well, Elijah Mitchell, that's right, Peter's guy, combined for 4.5 points. By the way, Elijah Mitchell's out 2 months. One of Peter's other running backs, J.K. Dobbins, isn't playing right now. One of Peter's other running backs, Isaiah Pacheco, I don't even know who, Kansas City running back. He's a rookie. By the way, Peter took 5 rookies, which I believe is the many he took last year, and he did finish 3rd, so maybe I won't overreact on that yet. But Peter's running back situation is already looking dire. Speaking of dire, our last game, and the team formerly known as Make Crimerica Great Again, I suggest Team Dead Horse. Because you're getting beaten, and then Eric beats you again like a dead horse. 115.5 to Eric to Sid's 95.5. Now, sure, you're like, well, Brett, dead horse don't score 95.5 points. No, you're right, they don't. But I beat you and buried you last year. You were gone. And then you tried to come back, and Eric beat you. So all I can say now is your team dead horse. If you're Eric, Josh Allen, who Adam Swart probably should have kept, 34 points. Cooper Kupp, 20.5. 54.5 points on Thursday Night Football. Nice lead to have coming out the gates. Travis Kelce, 18. Tampa Bay's defense, 13. Hollywood Brown, 10. Damian Harris, Travis Henry, combined 7 points. Not going to get it done most weeks. Cordero Patterson on the bench, 15.5. If you're Eric, everything's coming up. Millhouse, at least this week. Again, we're not overreacting. If you're Sid, Justin Jefferson, we didn't need him. 32.5 points. Kirk Cousins, 20. Tyreek Hill, 10. Austin Eckler, 6. In 2020, Austin Eckler averaged 9.5 points. Last season, Austin Eckler averaged 14.6 points. Comes out the gate with the 6. And lost carries to Sony Michel, who, by the way, wasn't even good enough to make Miami's team. Go figure. Has now got a role in San Diego. Los Angeles. Will that cut into Eckler? I don't know, but it's one of those things we're definitely going to watch. Kareem Hunt had 18 points on the bench. Wouldn't have necessarily mattered because he lost by, again, if my Browerville math is correct, 20. All right, here we go now. The stud, the dud, and the cringy. Not the stud, the dud, and the decent. It feels weird to say that, but that's where we're going. Stud of the week, Josh Allen, 34 points. Saquon Barkley, 23 points, both in winning efforts for their team. Dud of the week, I'm going to tell you who the dud of the week is. It was the stupid-ass Cardinals medical team or coach who's ever designating health status because you cost me at least a tie. I could have been 16-16-3 against Adam Swart instead of 17-16-2, but I'm not. Also, Zeke Elliott, 2.5 points. He is a guy that needs to have a big season now, especially since Dak is out. But really, if Matt wants to make some noise, he's going to need Zeke to help him with some of that. Cringy award nominee this week, Adam Swart. That's right. Even though you won, it is apparent you should have kept Josh Allen instead of Joe Burrow. And I know you like to argue about quarterback, and they're a dime a dozen. When you're the number one quarterback, and if you're going to score maybe 400 points, there's a difference. You should have kept him and let someone else like Cam Akers, maybe. Cam Akers could have went. But you know what? Just 1 week, we won't overreact. All right, looking at week 2, Hulkamaniacs coming in 0-1, taking on Mana, 4-time Lucky Pants, breaking and entering, title stealing champ Mana at 1-0. D's Nuts, or D's Nuts, I don't know, one of the D's Nuts. 1-0, taking on the Mixing Cocktails at 0-1. Pack Attack at 1-0, taking on the Valhalla Vandals at 0-1. Crimerica 0-1, coming in, taking on Architect at 0-1, and somebody's O has got to go. And lastly, in what might be the game of the week, and who saw this coming? Dickweed at 1-0, taking on the Radioactive Monkeys at 1-0. There you go, my friends. I hope maybe by creating this list, I wasn't overreacting. I hope by walking around and flaunting this championship title that I'm not overreacting. Because listen, if anything needs to not be happening after week 1, it's just that, overreacting. Let's play a few more and see where we get to. We'll check in with you next week. Thanks for watching this week, and until next time.